Hi, I'm Maria Leali with Synchronous Solutions. Today I'm here with our founder, Ed Hill, a man who needs no introduction. But Ed, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I started this company in 2001, and it's grown a bit, and it's in a new era of ownership now, but I'm still doing what I can do.
Absolutely. And you told me this in the past, but you're going to have to explain it because I'm not an expert in the field. You said you are a Jonah. You've studied directly with Eli Goldratt.
So Dr. Goldratt formed a title, a classification of people that are educated in the details of synchronous flow and theory of constraints. He called it a PhD in TOC. Theory of constraints is TOC, as you know. And I had the opportunity to go through a Jonah course with Dr. Goldratt himself. He said other people teach Jonah courses over the years, but I got to do it with him.
That's incredible. I brought you here today to talk about efficiency versus effectiveness. So let's dive into that a little bit.
All right. So Dr. Goldratt said in one of our sessions, might have been during a Jonah course, he was at Clemson for several years, involved in different aspects of what we were doing. And one of the meetings, we had a group of people in our conference room and our classroom, held about 75 people, I guess, and we usually filled it up with industry people. And he, at one point, said, the most efficient plant is never the most profitable. And I thought, how can that be? That just can't be right. Well, it is right. He is correct. And the issue is related to the context of efficiency. Efficiency is defined as doing things right, and it's measured as performance against a standard. So if a standard is 100 units in some period of time, and the operation, because it's always centered on a single step in the process, sometimes averaged over a group of steps, but the calculation is on a single step. And that step produces 120 units, then the efficiency is 120%. If it produces 80, it's 80%. That is, if the standard is 100. So it's a pretty simple calculation. And so what a lot of companies do, and a lot of industries do, is spread that over an average of all steps in the process. Well, averages sometimes misdirect the real intent. Sometimes that masks what really is happening. So in an example that you've noted in the last newsletter, over 10 steps, if all of them are 120% except the last one, and it's at only at 80%, then the average is something like 118% or something over that average. But clearly, the performance, the productivity of that system is limited by that one low point, the constraint. So that determines the capacity of the system, not the average. So what do we do about it? Well, if we say to step number one of the more efficient steps, well, you need to move down there and help out this guy at the last step because that's where we need help. And this happens all the time in my experience. That guy says, well, heck, I'm good at what I do. Why would you want to take me off of what I do really well and put me to a point where I don't even know how to do it? I won't be efficient down there.
Right.
Well, the answer is we don't care if you're efficient. We want you to do the best you can. But anything you do will increase the productivity of the entire system. So that's a struggle and a tactic that all of us in Synchronous Solutions deal with all the time is where is the constraint? Where is that which limits the capacity of the entire system? And that's where we need to direct our attention. Even if it is inefficient, that's where we need to put our capacity so that we can increase the productivity of the system. It's
What are
not the individual steps, it's the system.
Right. What are the symptoms that you see in a shop where you can identify which which piece of that, which step of that process is not running efficiently and needs help? How do you identify that?
You have to measure it. It's not an opinion, and we do this also in our assessments. We ask key team members of companies that we work with in the initial step. So where is your constraint? Where is that which limits the capacity of the entire system? What individual step? And we get all kinds of opinions. It's never the same. Some people, it'll be a different group. If you interview 10 people, you're going to get 7 or 8 different opinions of where the constraint is. So you can't go by opinion. You have to measure it. You have to really dig in and learn over time, not one day, but over a period of time, what is the limiting process. And also people will say, well, heck, it moves around. This morning it's one place, this afternoon it's another. Well, that gets to another interesting concept called balanced capacity. And those who have experienced the dice game that we do will understand that when the system is balanced, meaning we seek to have each operation step have the same capacity as all other operation steps, that's called a balanced capacity, and that is guaranteed failure. That's another one of the lessons that Dr. Goldratt emphasized is when your system is balanced, then it's in chaos. Because you're always chasing the constraint. You're always reacting to where it is at the moment. And this morning, it may be a different place than it is this afternoon. So we don't want balanced capacity. That's another question I often ask is, are you balanced? Well, we try to be. Well, is that smart? Do you really think that's the right thing you should be doing? And then we get into the discussion of why it's not. So we seek an unbalanced capacity system. We want it to be so that we can isolate the constraint and effectively manage it so we're not chasing it around all the time.
It sounds like a good idea, right? Balance. Everybody wants balance.
It's counterintuitive that we don't want balance. And look, I've been in manufacturing all of my adult life, and that's exactly what I used to do. I used to seek balanced. And toward the end of the workday or end of a shift, we would look around and see where our bottleneck or our constraint was, and we would direct resources there to try to improve it, moving us back to balanced. And the start of the next shift or the next morning, we're back in the same rut and we've got the same problems.
You're just chasing your tail.
Absolutely. It's exactly what we were doing.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm sure that happens everywhere, right? Because logically, it sounds like that would be the goal.
Right. And I would suggest anyone who is intrigued by this concept go to a Subway sandwich shop, one that is busy during lunchtime, common, and it's got to be one that is well trained and new is good because they will have gotten the latest training from the Subway system. So just sit back and watch. And the sandwich never stops moving. It's either being processed or it's moving. Now the people are moving to different locations, doing whatever needs to be done. They're constantly directing their attention to where the need is. And so a simple sandwich moves quickly, a more complicated sandwich takes longer. Well, people move to the place where they're needed. And that's, in essence, what we're trying to do in operations. And what we do is we want the product to keep moving. People do whatever they need to do in order to serve the need. Now, in a sandwich shop, other than the oven and the toaster, there's not much equipment. In our world, in manufacturing of all disciplines, there's complicated equipment and highly trained persons who generally can do only one or two different tasks. So it's a bit more difficult and complicated, but that's still what we're trying to do. We're trying to keep the product moving. And a friend of mine in this world said, if you want to know when it's not moving, see if there's any dust on it. If there's dust on it, it's not moving.
That's a good one.
So wrap it up, Maria. The concept of constraint management, theory of constraints, synchronous flow is very logical and common sense. It's counterintuitive. So be alert and be aware that it's going to challenge your thinking, but don't push aside something that doesn't sound correct, like the most efficient plant is never the most profitable. That just, boy, that was a shocker to me. But after I got into it, I said, that's correct. So do that. Be open-minded and aware that you may hear something that challenges your thinking, but don't rule it out without thinking it through and making sure you know all the details about it.
Right. And if anyone's curious and wants to dive into how this applies to their own shop, they can call you.
They sure can. I love this. I've been doing it a lot of years, and it's always interesting. I love every plant, every operation, every business is different. That's what makes it so much fun for us. So absolutely, if somebody wants to talk about this, I am ready.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ed. Thanks for making time today to talk to me about efficiency and effectiveness.
Thank you, Maria. Have a good day.
You too.